So to start with, the AfCFTA is a free trade area agreement established among 54 out of 55 African Union nations that creates a single market for the movement of goods and services, as well as investments. And so it is an agreement that came into existence effectively in 2018, and then became ratified by at least 22 African countries or member states of the African Union in May 2019, and then became operational from January 2021. So the AfCFTA, like I said, is a free trade area agreement. What does it mean? It means that the parties who have signed on to the AfCFTA and ratified it have decided to reduce the tariffs amongst themselves when they trade within Africa amongst themselves. Having said that, so this agreement connects about 1.5 million or billion people with a population of about 1.5 billion people with a GDP of $3.5 trillion on the continent. What are the specific objectives of the AfCFTA? The AfCFTA establishes a single market. It provides for trade liberalization in a progressive manner. It provides a platform for cooperation on intellectual property rights, investments, and also on competition policy, as well as digital trade. Then also it has some very good developmental objectives, one of them being the integration of SMEs, women-led and youth businesses in Africa. And of course, you know, Africa is a continent where a lot of trade involves women and youth, and so having the integration of women and youth in the AfCFTA protocol is a very positive sign. The AfCFTA lays the foundation for the establishment of a continental customs union. A customs union is a higher stage of integration than a free trade area, where the parties decide to eliminate altogether tariffs in trade amongst themselves and establish a common external tariffs with third parties, in trade. And so the AfCFTA lays that foundation to establish a continental customs union. Now, what is the status as we speak today? We have 54 countries that have signed the AfCFTA, 48 countries have ratified the AfCFTA, and then 48 countries have also submitted tariff concessions, and tariff concessions are the exchange, the list of products which countries intend to exchange among themselves, and the duties that they intend to levy when those goods move among state parties. The AfCFTA is made up of 8 protocols: protocol on trading goods, protocol on trading services, protocol on the rules and procedures for the settlement of disputes, protocol on investment policy, protocol on competition policy, protocol on intellectual property rights, protocol on digital trade, and protocol on women and youth in trade. So with these 8 protocols and their annexes, we have a very comprehensive trade agreement that is expected to drive integration, trade integration in Africa. The AfCFTA has 5 operational manuals, 5 operational instruments, And these instruments, the AfCFTA has 5 operational instruments. And these instruments are critical for realizing the AfCFTA benefits. The first one is the Rules of Origin Manual, which lays out the criteria for determining which products are originating in Africa. And so it's a very important one. The second one is the e-tariff book, the AfCFTA e-tariff book, which provides the tariffs applicable in electronic form for countries and businesses to know which products qualify for which tariff under the AfCFTA. There is an online mechanism for the monitoring, reporting, and elimination of non-tariff barriers. And this platform can be used by traders, importers, exporters under the AfCFTA to report any challenges they have exporting under the AfCFTA. And then we have the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, which is a platform for near real-time payment settlement of intra-Africa trade in goods and services. And then finally, we have the AfCFTA Africa Trade Observatory, which is a platform that allows for, finding information about trade opportunities, rules and regulations that apply to products, import and exports. So what opportunities that the AfCFTA presents? I mentioned some of them already, but let me just reiterate that. The first one is the expanded market opportunity. So the AfCFTA presents a market opportunity where, because of the reduction in tariffs, businesses can reach more businesses or more consumers in multiple African countries. So you can increase your customer base, increase your employment opportunities, and reach the over 1.5 billion people on the continent. Number two is the AfCFTA provides opportunities for value addition. And here we're talking about moving from the export of basic raw materials to value-added processing of goods for other markets. The products that we are used to in Ghana, for example, we have some comparative advantage in pharmaceuticals, in chocolate and confectionery, products that are quite unique, medicinal products, cosmetics, I'll mention that as well, food and FMCG products that are in demand in other African markets. And so you can reach out to those markets and be able to sell your products to them. But the key point here is the value addition. Of course, enhanced competition, it's one of the advantages of the AfCFTA. So, the opening up countries, opening up the continent will enhance competition and consumer preferences. So Ghanaians can receive goods which are competitively priced, and similarly we can also export goods which are competitively priced. It's expected to reduce the transaction cost, one of which is the tariff and the non-tariff barriers. Of course, I've heard people talk about challenges of logistics, movement of goods. These are options that there are options that exist that you have to explore to be able to know which options in terms of logistics and movement of goods will work for you. But it's one of the advantages of the AfCFTA in terms of reduction in cost, in terms of tariffs, in terms of eliminating the overlapping trade agreement. So, for example, if you are sitting in West Africa and you're looking at exporting to East Africa, by virtue of the AfCFTA, entering the East African market is relatively, transaction-wise reduced. And then the AfCFTA provides the opportunity for increasing foreign direct investments. Remember, one of the protocols of the AfCFTA is the Protocol on Investment, and that protocol provides a harmonized framework for improving and enhancing foreign direct investment when it comes to investors from Africa. And here we're not looking at the nationality of the investors, we're looking at the nationality of the investment. So we're looking at if, for example, you're a UK-based business established in Ghana, your business is a Ghanaian business, and therefore you can drive investment into other African countries utilizing the AfCFTA and vice versa. So that is our advantage of the AfCFTA, which is very, very much a good thing. Of course, there are some challenges, and I think some of them we are already aware. Every trade agreement presents opportunities and risk. Every trade agreement presents opportunities and risk. The AfCFTA, I don't think, is promising to remove all the challenges and remove all the risks. There are some challenges that are based on national policies that are not necessarily in the purview of the AfCFTA as a legal instrument. It is in the area or purview of the state parties. But for the sake of today, of course, the high cost of credit, especially if you're based in Ghana. Credit access to credit is a challenge, but it's something that you have to be aware. The availability and consistency of power is something that can affect competitiveness of businesses. We're looking at infrastructure, which is a challenge, and this final one, product diversification, is one that I also need to talk about. So we're talking about highly replicable products. So products that don't have, in my view, unique characteristics that are either that can be easily protected by intellectual property. And so I want to use this opportunity to encourage businesses to innovate, because if you want to go international, your products must maintain and have some unique characteristics, whether it's the branding, is the packaging, whether it's the intrinsic value of the product. All of those things must show. We need to have an expanded industrial base, an expanded value-added businesses that can produce goods that are in high demand. And then, of course, the other challenge, which I've experienced and heard about a lot, is ability of businesses to meet, volume demands. So sometimes the opportunity may come where we want so and so volume of your product. Sometimes people are successful in supplying the first one or two, and then subsequently are unable to meet those requirements. So those are some of the challenges that you have to overcome.